back to 29andBaking. My name is Tasha and I'm learning how to bake. I've barely baked, and the premise of this little series is I'm just going to try out new recipes and hopefully grow and learn and improve in my baking abilities as I go along. Sure to not get it right the first time every time, but it's a fun experiment. I learned a lot last time. First of all, I learned a lot about how not to film a video, i.e. don't just do stuff and talk the whole time without showing what you're doing, so sorry about that, but I have made some changes. Hopefully you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing this time. At least you won't just have to stare at my face the whole time if anyone's watching out there. And today I am going to make cranberry strike through cherry scones. I was trying to find some cranberries at my local grocery store not very long ago. I couldn't find any. I wandered around like a dope in the produce department for a while, and I did walk past though these guys, these lovely Rainier, I think that's how you pronounce it, cherries, and I thought, maybe that'll work. So I bought them and I'm going to do it. I'm making cherry orange scones. I have never made scones before. I'm a little bit nervous about it. I'm actually really nervous about it, but hopefully they'll turn out okay. I honestly, I've eaten scones maybe twice in my life, but I think it's going to be good. It's going to be fun to do. I'm going to kind of need to awkwardly yell the whole time because I don't have a microphone, and you're kind of far away, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. So I think I'm going to get started. The first thing I need to do is I need to get some orange juice. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on that. Let's see. I have 3 navel oranges here. I need a half a cup of juice, and so I looked up online that there's generally about 4 tablespoons of juice in 1 medium orange. I don't know if these are medium oranges or not. They seem kind of large to me, but hopefully we'll get the right amount. So I did some math, and there are 8 tablespoons in 1/2 cup. So technically I need 2 oranges. I got a third as a spare, as a backup. And then we need a little bit, we need a couple tablespoons for our glaze, because there's going to be a glaze too. So let's juice these. Just gonna use these juicers. So again, I learned a lot about how not to film a video last time. I don't know what's going to be more difficult, what's going to be more of a learning experience. Learning how to film and edit or bake. I'm not sure. It ended up being a twofer in this learning journey that I'm on, so it'll be interesting to try all that out too. I have a newfound respect for anybody who makes YouTube videos and makes them look good. I commend them. I'm going to get there eventually, but for right now I'm just working with what I've got. I think I might need to strain them too, because there are a few little seeds popping out here at me. Plot twist. That already looks like a lot of juice though. Maybe it's already at a half a cup. Let's find out. I'm going to strain this. Alright, so we already have half a cup. Look at that. I have 1.5 whole navels left. Okay? Oh, I also need some zest. Got a zester here. How much zest do I need? 1 tablespoon of orange zest. Okay. I'm excited to try these scones. If anyone watches this video and has any, what do you like in a scone? What do you look for whenever you're eating a scone? What are your favorite scones, and what makes them your favorite? Don't think that's a tablespoon. Alright. How much zest do we have? 1 tablespoon. Not quite. getting so close. Okay, need more orange. We're just gonna zest this half. But you don't normally see this kind of thing on the Food Network. Okay, just my tablespoon of zest. So I'm gonna need to start off once again with my large bowl. We're gonna need to put our dry ingredients in here. We need some flour. 2 3/4 cup of flour. I'll put this recipe in the box. So there will be flour on the counter. There will be other things on the counter. I probably won't remember to clean it up and make it look nice, especially not for the first few times. Sorry. Sugar, 1/3 cup of sugar. Baking S. Baking pea, 3 teaspoons. Salt. Forgot to get this out earlier. Oh. What is it they say that you're supposed to, if you spill some, whisk it all together. Okay. That nice and distributed. Oh, I'm supposed to put the orange zest in there too. Okay. Oop. Whisk that in. Flour is going everywhere. I think my zest got a little juicy. Maybe forming dough already. And just make a little pile. Cut the butter, which is in the fridge, into this. This part is what I'm nervous about. It says that you can use a pastry blender. Don't have a pastry blender, so I'm just gonna use these guys. And you're supposed to move quickly so that you don't melt the butter, because the idea is to have little pockets of butter in there and you don't want it to be too soft. I think, again, calling on all of my years of watching baking on television. And I think you're just supposed to kind of, let me get the butter. So this is 1/2 cup of butter cut into pieces. So I just cut it into squares. Throw it in there, and I'm gonna try to work quickly. Makes me nervous. Probably just shouldn't think about it so much, and I'm sure it'll turn out great. Oh. Feels interesting. Sort of like a sandbox. I hope I'm doing this correctly. I'm just squeezing the butter. I'm just gonna see if I can mix the flour around. I feel like it's already taking too long. I'm just feeling for big pieces of butter. It says that it's supposed to look like coarse crumbs. So I'm assuming there shouldn't be any big pieces in here. I don't know how doable that's gonna be with only these. Let's try getting larger handfuls. Maybe that'll help. Try not to smother any of the butter pieces though. Still definitely some parts of this that are very white. Like they're still just the flour. Otherwise, it looks mostly yellow, so I'm just gonna kind of yellow, cream beige. So I'm just gonna wait till it looks a little bit more uniformly beige. Maybe that means something. Actually, I think I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna show you my flour hands. Just try to show you. See? Okay, going for that. I need another bowl. I need vanilla, tablespoon, vanilla, orange juice, and milk. Orange juice going in, get some milk. 1/2 cup of milk. And I would really love to have one of those people that just like shows up in the background and like collects things and runs away. Gonna whisk it. Smells nice. Vanilla and orange. Gradually add it to the flour mixture, it says. I did read this ahead and it says that we may not need to add all of it in, so I'm just gonna do half to start. And then it's supposed to form a dough. We don't want to stir it too much. That same golden rule. That's not enough. It says add a little at a time until dough is moist but not wet. Right now it just looks crumbly. None of the above. Did I add enough? 1/2 cup orange juice, 1/2 cup milk, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Okay. It's just not really coming together. I'm just gonna add in a little more. It's not much left. I'm gonna use my hands. This is just dumb. Okay, this is good to go. It's definitely sticking to my hands, but it seems pretty dough-like. Oh, this looks good. Okay, this seems like how it should feel. This is so fun. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna call this and just get all this stuff out of the way. Okay, now, do you know what overmix? I'm reading the recipe here and I'm looking for the step that includes the cranberries, cherries, and I'm not seeing it on here. Again, this is real life. I was going a little quickly. Might have left out an entire step. Transplant dough, pat dough, in a circle. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna just pause. So I just took a little break to look at the recipe, and on the actual recipe, not the one that I wrote down. I should have mixed in the cherries after I mixed up all the dry ingredients. So you're supposed to, the butter, you're supposed to add in the fruits after that. Unfortunately, I didn't. So now I'm gonna just try to fold them into this. Here is my dough once it's been mixed. This is just what happens. Sometimes you miss an entire step. So I'm gonna see how that goes. Okay, I cut the cherries into just small pieces. I cut them up avocado style around the edge and took out the teeny weeny pit and threw that in the trash. And then I cut them into just four. I quartered each half, so in eighths. And they're these little kind of cranberry-ish size pieces. I hope this is okay, and I hope I don't squish them. And I hope I don't overwork the dough. Oh no. Also, these are going to make it a little bit more wet, because they're like really squishy and they're not wanting to incorporate. Just kind of smash them down in there. Oh man. Well, now it's pretty moist. Like there for a second it was almost even a little bit dry, but it looked really great. These cherries have brought it back to life. At least that's what I'm hoping. Okay, I'm just gonna do that because I don't want to mix it up anymore. They're not really inside too much, but I'm gonna see what happens. Just clean it up. The next step is to turn the dough out onto a lightly floured surface and gently knead 4 or 5 times. I think I've probably kneaded it at least 4 or 5 times already. But we need to shape it into a circle, so this is lightly. Yeah. The cherries are falling out. Okay. I think it's definitely too sticky. So it says a 7-inch round circle. Sure, that's 7 inches. Maybe that's more like 7. It's probably painful for you to watch. It's pretty wet. Now I need to cut this. Now I need to cut this into half. Oh man. Pizza cutter's the way to go. Each half needs to be cut into 4 triangle shapes. I'm just gonna go like this, like this, like this. And transfer it to a baking sheet. Here we go. Hopefully these aren't stuck to the counter. Can you see? Kind of. It's supposed to be 2 inches apart. Okay, they're coming up off the counter. Maybe they're gonna be okay. I hope so.
If not, I learned to write down recipes properly. Or just use the original. I'm gonna try to reshape them a little bit. I think the cherries are gonna make it a little bit too wet.
You put these in the freezer for 30 minutes. Here, oh, let me show you. I'll show them to you before I do that. Here are the scones, the little cherry bits in them. Maybe they're gonna be okay. Wish us luck. 30 minutes in the freezer. All right, guys, back to the cabinet a little bit while my scones are in the freezer and my oven's preheating. It is preheating to 400 degrees. Just been doing some dishes and cleaning up a little bit, cleaning the dough off of the bottom of my feet because there was dough on the floor, so got that taken care of and I feel much better now. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about how these are gonna come out. So I know that this is technically kind of like a little bit of a baking sort of show, but it's more than that. Now that I have one video online, I already am thinking about like, what are people going to think? What if my family watches this video? What if my friends watch this video? They're gonna think I'm so weird that I'm just filming myself in my silly kitchen that isn't that fancy, and they're gonna wonder what. Oh, oven's ready. But they're going to wonder what I'm doing and why. I think that it's important to push back those feelings because in my younger years, I would have just let that stop me. So I wouldn't have put the video up online. I would not have filmed episode 2. It's really the perfect opportunity for me to get outside of my comfort zone. And I think that that is something that has really become a passion of mine. It is so important that you push yourself and go outside your comfort zone and figure out who you really are so that you can be that and you can feel like you are really brave. So I think that it's just the scariest thing ever to put yourself out there and to be seen in a way. And that's kind of like I of course wanted to start this because of everything that I said before. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about life and because it really did, not just this realization of keeping at things to become better at them, but I had a whole series of things that I realized kind of all at once, and it's really changed my life, and so much for the better. You hear it everywhere, but I guess it never sat with me. It's so simple. I've heard though that that's kind of how it happens. Like the most profound, life-changing things are also so simple once you really hear it, and you just have to be in a place where you can hear it. And I was. I can talk a little bit about where I was and why it happened. Last year, I took a trip. So I live in the Midwest and of the United States. And I took a trip, the first trip of my life. I had never gone anywhere, but I flew to Finland and I did what is called woofing. So it's WWOOF. What it is it's kind of like a hub where it's an organization that connects organic biodynamic farms with volunteers, so people who want to travel and who are willing to go and help out at the farm, and then in exchange they provide you with a place to stay, food to eat, and you work. So you'll work. I worked I think it was 5 days a week, 9 to 3 or 4 each day, but that's the idea. So you go and they're all over the world. I found this lovely farm on the woofing website, and I went there. And to abbreviate the story a little bit, I got there and I was going to stay for 2 months. And my first few days, I realized I was kind of in over my head a little bit. There were other volunteers there from all over the world, so mostly from Europe, but yeah, they were just kind of cycling in and out, but there was a different amount of volunteers at any given time. People were staying at different lengths, so it was very, very cool. It was awesome, but I realized I was in over my head because it felt like everybody there, they knew what they were doing when it came to cooking. So the volunteers were responsible for cooking lunch every single day, and I was a volunteer. I was there the longest out of everyone, so I was there for 2 months, and or the longest of my kind of initial group. And so I felt, I didn't really know how to cook though, but everyone else, it seemed like they did. They were all so comfortable with it, and you just kind of made food from the farm. So they grew all the most delicious, pristinely organic vegetables you could ever imagine. It was so beautiful. The food was wonderful. I'd never seen vegetables like that before, and I certainly had never tasted them before. But I also didn't know what to do with them. I wasn't used to cooking them. I wasn't used to just taking ingredients and putting them together, making something good out of them. But they all kind of did, and so I felt really bad, and I felt really sad that I didn't feel like I could participate or help at all, and so I just kind of like shied away, and I didn't try it. I didn't make lunch at all. I felt like I was zero help in that regard, and I had this like need to like make it up in other areas, like when we were working. But I felt so bad because I wanted so badly to help, but I was so scared that because you would be cooking for up to 14, 15 people at a time, and it was usually one volunteer that would make lunch. and you would just sort of have to wing it and cook with what was in the kitchen at the time. It would be whatever we were, harvesting at the time. If we had extra zucchini, you would just make a bunch of zucchini or whatever. And on top of that, whatever they did make, the other volunteers, or there were a couple of employees at the farm, it was delicious. It was like the most simple, wonderful food you could ever imagine. It would be just the vegetable and it's by itself with maybe a little bit of seasoning, and sometimes they would make a sauce, like a tomato sauce to go with it, and we would normally always have bread on the side. Sometimes they would make a dessert, but it was just kind of the vegetables, but because they tasted so good on their own, and they would just doctor them up a little bit to kind of have a little bit of variety day by day, but mostly it was just that. But they were just like cooked to perfection, and they were so good. And I realized though how little I knew, and I think that of course I felt this way because I didn't know, because I felt embarrassed, but I felt like they all, of course, were probably frustrated with me because I was there and they weren't. They never showed it. This was just me making up stories in my head because I felt, like I wasn't being helpful in that regard. But I also was justifying it inside my head too, like, well, I'm just not good at cooking. That's just not something that I've ever been good at doing. I'm not good at it at all. I can't even try. Like, there's no way I can try. I'm going to embarrass myself in front of everyone, and nobody's going to be able to have lunch. We all look forward to lunch. It was just always so wonderful, and we would all sit together. The farmer, the other volunteers, they had neighbors. There was the person that established the farm, and his wife. They would come. I could not fathom trying it and failing. And they probably would have been fine. Like, that's the most ironic part about it. Like, they probably would have just been happy that I tried it, and we might have all laughed if it was bad, but they would have eaten the food. They totally would have, and it would have been fine with them. It was me that created the issue because I had this whole fear of, I'm just not good at that. So I'm not going to go for it. And toward the end of my stay, the last day, I did make lunch with a partner. So I did do it, but it was only one day out of 2 months. But it made me realize I didn't know how to do this one very simple thing that every human should know how to do, I think. But it was the way I was looking at it that kept me from doing it. It wasn't the act. It wasn't that cooking is difficult. It is, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing worthwhile that's not difficult. And so and also, like, everybody would kind of be cooking dinner at night too, so we would cook lunch for everybody who was working that day, and it would be a much larger group. But then at dinner, and one person would kind of make dinner for everyone sometimes, or we would all sort of do our own thing. And I noticed that they were very comfortable in the kitchen. So they would maybe just make a random pie out of ingredients that they had around the kitchen, or a tart, and it would always just turn out beautiful and lovely. And I kept hearing this word experiment, like, here and there. Like, they were just saying, like, oh, just experiment. Oh, just see what happens. Just experiment. It's no big deal. And it was like I had this I don't remember, it wasn't even one specific person that was saying it. That was just sort of the general attitude there. Click in my brain, like, oh, you just experiment and see what happens, and that's the process. The process is the fun part. If the end result turns out weird or it's not good, then who cares? It's not the end of the world. You can most likely still eat it. Very rarely is food inedible. You probably can. Still a little bit too shy to really go for it while I was there, but they knew exactly what to do with them because they had done it time and time again, and it just sort of all like a storm in my brain was like, oh my gosh, like that's how you do stuff. It's so important to know how to do something so basic, not basic in like the derogatory way, but something so valuable and something like sustaining yourself, cooking food, delicious things for yourself that make you happy and making them how you want it, and just knowing how to do that and treat others. I just had so many delicious, wonderful meals there that were provided to me by other humans, and they were so wonderful and gracious, and it brought me so much true joy to eat them. Because it was delicious, and also it was just so nice that somebody put so much time and effort into it. And I was like, this whole experience is just like such a wonderful thing that I have never been on the other side of it because I just never tried and I never went for it. I would just quit because I just thought it wasn't for me. And so I got home and I immediately started cooking, and I had barely cooked before that. I mean, I kind of had here and there. I had helped, but I never really thought about it too much. So I would sort of do it, and and I would obsessively, like to a T, OCD, follow a recipe, and I was so scared to deviate away from it because I'm just afraid, I guess, of my own, I don't know, my own ideas going into it. I'm afraid it's going to mess it up. And so I never really kind of treated it like that experiment, you know, that you should. And so I never learned much because I didn't ever fail. I followed everything to a T, and it just, of course, it would turn out fine, but I didn't really have a part in it. I wasn't involved in it. You know, it was just me kind of following somebody else's instructions mindlessly. And so I just changed. I got more involved with food. I became a lot more frugal. I decided to try to buy and cook all of my meals instead of going out and getting food. And I have, like, it's been almost a year now, and I would say that I've probably cooked 98% of my meals since then, and I've learned so much. But yeah, it was really great. I'm so grateful for that because that trickled into so many other areas of my life. It wasn't just cooking, it wasn't just food, it was, you know, so many other things. And I want other people to know too, you know, not just cooking, not just baking. There are so many things that if you just set your mind to it and you get involved in it and you have fun with it and enjoy the process, not just skipping to the end result, because that's so much of what life is. It's the small things and it's the process, and that's where the learning and the growing is. So yeah. Okay. We're gonna, oh, it's time to, hold on one second. It's time to put, it's time to put our scones in the oven. So I'm gonna grab them from my freezer and put them in there, and I will be right back. Thought I would show you one more time before they go into the oven. They look a little funky, they're a little unshapely. Okay, the scones are in the oven, and I'm going to set a timer for, where is it? 15 to 20 minutes. So I guess I'll check them in 15. And we will see. I wonder if how you can tell if a scone is done or not. Do you also stick a whisk in it? I have no idea. And I'm not allowed to do any research, so I guess I'm just going to maybe break one in half. Yeah, I can't really think of any other way to try it. Okay, well, be back with you whenever these guys are done baking. Okay, timer just went off. Let's see what happens. So here they are. They look like scones. Oh, they're still definitely really soft. So I think I'm gonna put them back in there. Like, they're kind of jiggly, which I don't think they should be that jiggly. Getting crispy on the outside though. Okay, I'm gonna give them a few more minutes. Put them back in for 3 minutes. Seems right. It says 15 to 20 minutes on the recipe. Started with 15, 3 more is 18, and I think that'll be good. Maybe they're supposed to be a little bit soft in the middle, probably, but it still felt like dough. It still felt really wet, if that makes sense. There are 30 seconds left. I think I'm gonna try the fork trick this time. Once the timer goes off, maybe I'll go with a knife again, because that seemed to work so well with the muffins. I love how the cherries are just sitting on top. I wonder if any cherries made their way into the actual scones themselves. I'm really excited to taste one. Hopefully they're not raw on the inside. Smells very orange, pretty golden. Some areas. Let's do this thing. Do the big one. Oh. Okay, still a little bit of wet dough. I'm gonna give them like 2 more minutes. Just realized I still need to make the glaze. last time. Okay. Try this again with a new. I'm gonna try whisk. I'm gonna go for this guy. Perfectly clean. They're coming out, everyone. They look okay. They look a little light on the phone here, but in real life, they don't look that way. They have nice, like, browned edges. I love the shapes of them. They look sort of like dinosaurs or something. Oh, I hope I didn't overbake them now. I wonder if it's like cookies where you want them to be almost undercooked whenever they come out, underbaked. So I'm gonna let these cool for a little while. I'm just gonna probably leave them on here, and then I'm gonna finish up my glaze. We'll just let them cool for, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, and then glaze them. I don't want the glaze to just run away from it. I'm making the glaze now. I have 1 cup of powdered sugar. Tastes just great. And then also it says 2 to 3 tablespoons of orange juice. This is 2 tablespoons, so we'll start with that. Just gonna marry the two together. Oh yes. Cute. Mix it up. Alrighty, so I added pretty much the entire last tablespoon of orange juice, and this is what our glaze looks like. Can you see it? I have created a glazing platform via my oven rack and the sheet pan that I baked these bad boys on. So let's get to glazing. I'm thinking I might just pour it over top. Maybe I'll try to do some sort of a pattern or something, but I think it would be best if the whole tops of these were covered with this delicious nonsense, but I try to do this one-handed. Bear with me, as you always are. I'm gonna see if I can let you see. Okay, I'm gonna try it. Let's see. Let's see. Oh boy. That one's not very pretty. There we go. Alright, okay. Hope I don't run out. Let me see.
Happening through the phone, so I know whether or not you can see. This looks so good. I cannot wait to try one of these. Whenever I was moving them onto the platform, they were really brown and crispy on the bottom, but feel pretty soft in the middle, so just use up all the glaze here. That's enough, maybe? Yeah? Okay.
I'm ready to eat a scone. So excited. Gotta break it open so we can look at the inside. 1 second. Okay, let's see. I think that's good. What do you guys think? How's that look? I think it looks really great. But I think scones are supposed to be a little bit on the dry side, and these seem pretty soft. Let's taste it. Oh my goodness. Well, it tastes delicious. The cherries are so good, and I love the glaze. I feel like I always talk about the toppings, but it's definitely not crumbly. I feel like I'm imagining a scone to be really crumbly, and this is more almost like a biscuit, which maybe that is right. Maybe that is correct. Look at a cherry. So at least one did make it inside, everyone, which is exciting. I need to get another scone that someone else made and eat it, and then I'll give it a proper rating. But this particular piece of food, I give a 7.7. No, 8.2. The combination of the orangey, sugary glaze and then the kind of cakey, sort of buttery inside and the tart cherries, I'm pretty happy to be eating it. So 8.2. Thanks for hanging out with me again. I don't know what the heck I'm going to bake next time, but 29 and Baking episode 3 will be coming. Okay, I'm just going to ramble if I don't watch it. So goodbye.